puck still loose. Nosek keeps it moving. The NHL's all-time win record now belongs to these Boston Bruins. They win their 63rd game of the season. 63, 12, and 5, and still 2 games on the schedule for the 22-23 Bruins. Just remarkable.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
20 seconds remaining. The Golden Knights start to celebrate on their bench. The silver trophy to the Golden Knights. Ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup!
What the puck is going on?
What the puck is going on for March the 27th, 2024. I am Stephen Murray. Nephew Dave joins me from his studio out in the lovely Norfolk, Virginia. The broadcast studio is here for the Deep End Broadcasting Network here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. And this is what the puck is going on with your full breakdown of your 2-game NFL slate tonight, Nephew Dave. How are you doing today?
Doing well this evening, sir.
And we will get into some of the games tomorrow as well. But Dave, how about last night? Let's take a quick recap of that. Anything stick out to you? A lot of competitive games from my hindsight. And then, of course, Nashville showing tremendous guts in that third period, rallying all the way back and beating the Golden Knights in a very important game in overtime. That was my big take on the night. But what about you?
Yeah, Steve, it was a night of just great hockey all around. Capitals pull it out.
Overtime, yes, lots of overtimes. 3 overtimes, I think.
Overtime, the Bruins, they take down the Panthers.
Nice call there. Good call there.
Rangers, the Rangers and the Flyers, what a game that
Back
was.
And forth, wild third period. I mean, I think it was 2-0 Flyers, and then you saw 3-2 Rangers, and then they traded scores all the way up to 5-5, where the Rangers eventually win in overtime, 6-5. So yes, crazy game there.
Then you had a good call there with the Devils, Steve. You called that one. They take down the Leafs 6-3.
Yep, higher scoring game there.
What else can you really say about Nashville at this point in time? Boy, look out for them in the playoffs is all I'm saying.
How about our 2 sneaky picks, Dave, with the Blackhawks winning against Calgary at home yesterday, and then also with Arizona, who was down 2-0 to get 4 goals in the third period to win 6-2. Both goals, if you had an alternate line on that as well, I don't think they were empty netters. It didn't say empty netters on the score sheet. I fell asleep before it. But the Coyotes able to get 2 shorthanded goals in the last couple of minutes without the empty net. So they were facing the power play for Columbus. But again, like we said, Columbus just a banged up team, bad spot. Coyotes decent at home, and there you go.
Yep. So, pretty good night of action, Steve. So that was, I think that's kind of the way we thought these games were going to go, especially, with the top 3 games with the Capitals, the Bruins, and the Rangers. All just great games.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the slate tonight, but we'll do first to see how those games from last night play out into our standings here. And I got the new standings. I thought I had this up on my sheet. Maybe I backed it out. All right, so let me go ahead and do it. I guess once you save it, it clicks off of here. So the wild card standings is what we're going to look at. Well, we'll take a look at the division because I think everything was impacted. Carolina too, Dave. That was my I don't know if you exactly called it. You threw the Penguins in the penalty box last night, a team to pick on here, but they're able to get to 2-1.
Yeah, look how that went.
Home. Yeah, that was the one game that went sideways that kind of messed up everything that you had kind of put together there. But as far as the division goes, big for Boston now. They have 2 points, the lead over Florida, and they'll play tonight with Tampa, so we'll get into that game in a second. Toronto will have a big game with the Caps. They'll have 89 points, so they're back there in third. But a big win for Boston, maybe a try to flex your muscles in Florida type of deal, and they'll try to do that on the other end of the back-to-back tonight. With the Rangers and their win and Carolina losing outright, the Rangers now to go up 3 points full on Carolina in the Metro. In the West, how about Colorado? We didn't mention them. They stumble at home to Montreal in a game that they should have, but you got to give the Canadians credit. They've been able to pull out a few wins here in the last few weeks. So they upset Colorado as huge underdogs. I think they were well over plus 300 to win that game outright. If you took them on a 60-minute line, you're probably getting paid over 4-1 on Montreal to win in Denver last night. And Dallas, they go ahead and hold serve, winning 6-3 over San Jose, who were able to get a few goals. We figured they might. These teams have played some high-scoring games this season. But Dallas now with a 2-point lead over Colorado. Vancouver, who was not in action, they will lose ground to Edmonton, who gets the nice win for them as well, Dave, in overtime at Winnipeg. So it's a tough game there. We probably should have guessed that as far as an overtime game goes. We're both on the other side of that. I think if we were picking, and that's what we'll have to do on the full slates. We'll really see what I feel like when we pick this game could go to overtime, we actually have relatively decent success when it comes to that.
Right,
and
yeah,
and we would have had a round robin. I think we would have nailed a couple of those last night as well. Maybe not the Philly one, Philly the surprise being there. But Detroit gave a good, valiant effort at Washington. Edmonton, they trail Vancouver now by 8 points in the Pacific. All right, as far as the wild card goes, let's take a look at that. Washington, with their big win, puts them 2 points over Detroit now. So they gain each team gets a point, but Washington will get the extra point for the win in overtime last night. So that puts them 2 full clear of Detroit. New Jersey, with that needed win, will stay in the hunt with 76. Islanders and Buffalo, we'll see Buffalo in action tonight, and what certainly is a must-win game for them at home. I believe they have Ottawa when we take a look at it here in a minute.
They do, yep.
In the West, as far as the wild card goes, Nashville with 90 points. That really puts them in a really good position. A good win for them at home. Vegas is still able to grab a point. They'll take that actually as a win in their scenario. They're trying to obviously jump Nashville, get some better seeding. I think maybe Vegas would rather see Vancouver than Dallas, if you can believe that, just because Vancouver is going to be a little untested in playoff waters, and Vegas is going to be an experienced team. So that's something they would like to do if they can jump Nashville. But with the loss last night, Nashville will get that extra point with the overtime win. And St. Louis, 80 points for them now. They trail Vegas. So Vegas still able to get a little bit of separation over the Blues as far as playoff positioning is concerned there, Dave.
Yep. And, look at Nashville just putting themselves, in a spot that almost kind of guarantees that they make the playoffs now. I mean, you got the Blues who are clear 10 points back, with 10 games to play. So the room for error on the side of the St. Louis Blues is about nil, Steve. So you got to think Nashville is feeling excellent about their chances at the moment.
Nashville 22, although they were home last night with the win. And what are they now? 16-0-2 on the stretch, if we have that right. And just road warriors in a sense. 22-10-3 overall on the road. A very solid road team. So that will help them come playoff time, actually.
Hey, Steve, check this out now. If we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but let's just say for the sake of the numbers here, two teams really surging come playoff time, Nashville and Washington.
I have
What do
them
you think
hooked.
the payout for that is?
Yeah, well, I bet the ticket, Dave.
That's right, you did.
I'll have to look it up, but it's going to be buried deep in my wagers of tickets. But probably is actually getting a little bit of plus money at this point. Already with the investment, I was able to buy those guys at long odds. I'll see if I can look that up as we get into the futures here at the end of the show. What we'll do is we'll go through the slate tonight, and then we'll also go ahead and take a look at the slate for tomorrow night. How about that, Dave?
All right.
Since we won't do a show tomorrow, we have opening day baseball as well, which we'll be doing the round robin morning time. Show name to be changed potentially, live tomorrow, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can listen to us when you wake up. Your first show live on the scenes on an early 6 a.m. Sunday, weekday morning here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network, and the replay will be following immediately after that. I figured the show will try to be an hour. It will stretch a little bit more than that, and figure since it's the first show tomorrow and an opening day baseball, we may even stretch it out to 7:30, 7:45 or so. And I'll talk to you, Dave, afterwards. If maybe I don't know what time you wake up. Maybe you want to discuss 15 minutes of baseball at the end, or send me your picks. But we can discuss that off the air. I was interested in looking at the schedules real quick for the NHL as well, since we're talking about some of these teams. So let me go ahead and find that if I can. I should have.
Are you looking for a strength of schedule?
The actual schedule of teams coming up here, and let's see if I can click on teams. Yeah, I can. So let's see here. No, it just give me a game by game instead of a team by team. All right, I'll get better prepared next time, but I'm just kind of interested to see like where Nashville plays coming up and some of that. All right, stuff to look at later. Let's get into the slate tonight. Let's go ahead and do that. We talked about Ottawa, and we talked about Buffalo. Buffalo minus 144 at home over Ottawa, plus 120 the comeback. I see over-under is 6.5 in this game. And if we're going ahead and looking at the splits here, as far as these teams go, and of course I'm back on the scheduling. Okay, so Ottawa, let's look at those guys first. 5-4-1 in their last 10. They have won 2 in a row. As far as their goals are concerned, they're not a high-scoring team. They scored 225 goals on the season. They've given up 249, so that's an issue. They just allow it to go into the back of the net much more than they're willing to put in. Buffalo, on the other hand, has been the same. Not able to put out a lot of offense, just 216 goals scored, but that's what they've given up, just 216. So they are a stingy team as well. I would just favor Buffalo since they still have somewhat of a lifeline here. Not much of one, but they have to win tonight to stay relevant. If they lose and give up 2 points, they might as well forget about it. So figure every game's a playoff game for them at this point. I think Ottawa may be checking out, even though they won 2 games in a row here. The reality is going to set in that the season's coming to a close. They are on the road here. Buffalo should have a little bit of a decisive home ice advantage in that regard. So I would lean with Buffalo just on the straight money line in this game, Dave, and trust them to get the job done. What do you think?
Yeah, Steve, I think you're probably on the right track there. The one thing that I think I would do here, I would take an over, and I'll tell you why. Because this is the 4th of 4 meetings between these two teams. First game 6-4, second game 5-1, third game 5-3. So while that 5-1 probably didn't get over, it was that hook that got you there. I mean, that's 6. So these teams are just
they're able
off on each other.
They are, they are able to do that. Let's go ahead and see what they have for goalies listed tonight. Korpisalo will be in net, and Luukkonen will be in net as well. So Not the best guys.
I
in
would
the
think I
universe.
would even move that. I would go maybe 7.5 and get you a plus number out of it.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. What do you got for that?
If we pull that up, we'll look at, let's see here. Alt total, we want to go 7.5, plus 195, Steve, for 8 goals.
That's a good number.
I like that a lot.
I even see over here, plus you, if you look around, you might be able to get over 200. I see a plus 235 even at one of the books.
Wow.
That I'm looking at. So all that adds together, especially if you're going to do like a $10 parlay. If you're getting a little bit better number on the money line, try to do it. I know I got my favorite book I like to play with, so I do less shopping than anyone probably in the world, Dave. But it really does add up if you're going to take this thing seriously and with your bankroll. Your $10 parlay with something else. The plus 235 will just pay a little bit better than a plus 195. And really, at the end of the day, that extra $40 or so goes against your losses. So you just got to kind of think about it like that. If you can go ahead and find the best numbers, and really, all these books have different, better numbers at some things than they do others. And even it could be as far as like divisional standings or something like that, or conference standings. You may see both books contradicting each other in the same division with different teams as well. The team who they think might be in second, their rating is a third place team. This book thinks that this team should be the third place team should be the second place team, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot to pay attention to that in that regard. And any number of adjustments down the line will move the numbers for all the other guys as well. So we're in. You like the over here, Dave? You think Buffalo? You think they can win this game? Something like 5-3?
I do, Steve.
Yeah.
It's like you mentioned, it's a game that they have to have. And this is probably the one game that that goes way under between these two. But just the trend of the 3 games out of 4, I just don't see why you wouldn't give it a try, knowing that these two teams, every time they meet, just score on each other.
This is kind of a fun way to do things, Dave, as well. You can do this potentially as well. So you have 6 total goals, 7 total goals, and 8 total goals. You could bet exact. And the 6 goals is plus 700. The 7 goals is plus 330. So that's the favorite. And then the 8 goals is plus 950. So what you can do is bet these all straight up and try to hit in that window. Now, if you get the 7 goals, you're going to get a plus 130 overall. And then if you hit 6 or 8, you're going to get a really, really big plus number. You're kind of creating your own band, kind of like that scale game on The Price is Right. You want to get that arrow right in the middle. If you ever watch that game show in the mornings, as the little bar guy raises, you got to stop it at the right time and hope the arrow is in that middle. It's kind of the same type of theory. So good payouts there, Dave, if you think you can peg it in between 6 and 8 goals. And for what you said, that's pretty good evidence that these two teams can actually do that. Picky on defense at times, but not against each other. Sometimes that's what you need to be able to produce goals anyway. Your defense leads to good offense at times.
Exactly.
All right. So the other game on the board is definitely a good game with Boston and Tampa Bay. Boston is the underdog, obviously coming off the back-to-back, minus 105, minus 114 I see for Tampa Bay. Do you have that with Tampa Bay a slight favorite, wherever you're looking, Dave?
Yes, I do.
And we're going to get Olmark and Vasilevsky and Vasilevsky in goal.
Vasilevsky.
Yep. He has that extra V in there that you usually do not pronounce, that second V right there after the E and the S. So try to get that in. But Olmark has been, a proven commodity there for the Bruins. Vasilevsky has been great for the Lightning. Now, here's the deal with the Lightning overall. They have been a little bit more of a higher scoring team. If I can get back to that with these pop-up ads popping up everywhere on me, of course. Let's see here. Very annoying. So let me get to the splits again. Somehow we get off of that. All right, and with Boston with the win again, just stingy in goal for them, just 203 goals allowed. They scored 245. And Tampa Bay, if we look at them, pretty much decently nestled in the playoff standings. Let me clarify that. They have 85 points right now. They are in the 7th spot, but yeah, they could relinquish that. They could find themselves as the odd man out if things go wrong. But they've scored 250 goals, 235 allowed, so that's not the worst by any stretch. And but it's not exactly the best either. So they have been a little leaky at times. They are a hot team, 7-1-2, and their last 10. Really good at home, 21-9-4. I just think here, Dave, I think you said it last night. You kind of led me on that you're going to get Boston's A-plus effort. And I can't help to think that there wasn't much celebrating in that locker room after that game. They're like, look, guys, we don't have a long trip. We know we're on the back-to-back. But if we can beat Tampa Bay tomorrow night, that's really going to mean a lot for us going forward, especially with our commitment in the playoffs. That's going to be the ultimate goal for the Bruins, where they've had that tremendous record last year, only to fall short. And the fans being disappointed by the Bruins a little bit since they've been able to hoist the cup here a few years back. But I think it's just a business trip more than anything for the Bruins. I think they're going to emphasize that. So again, as a slight underdog, Dave, I'll go ahead and follow the suit with what you did last night. And I would look for the Bruins here to get this win. And we talked about Tampa Bay having some injury issues as well yesterday. So that might play a factor into tonight. So go ahead and give me Boston on this, Dave.
Yeah, Steven, I totally understand that. They look pretty sharp right now, but I'm going to tell you what, as you mentioned, Tampa could end up falling if they let the game slip, and they're 4-5 in their last 5 games. They're at home. I am actually going to go against the grain here. I'm going to look for them to kind of take advantage of a high emotion, high scoring game that the Bruins were in last night, with Tampa Bay waiting on them this evening. -1.5 on the puck line is +215 for the Lightning. And I'm going to go ahead and take a shot, just knowing that they need their points as well, Steve, and they're not going to just lay down. They're at home, going to try and take advantage of maybe a slightly tired Boston team, and they need to get it done at home as well.
Hey, these teams have bumps and bruises this time of the year. I mean, everyone's a little banged up and exhausted at some point. Yeah, rest is huge in terms of this. And Tampa Bay, they are really, really good at home. That is a tough environment for them to play. They really have a good home ice advantage with their fans. Boston's going to try to travel well. You have a lot of Bostonites who live in Florida, so that could be a really exciting environment tonight down there in Tampa. I'll tell you what, Dave, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a goal from Pasternak and Kucherov tonight. Kucherov.
No, not at all. That would not surprise me even a little bit.
Both of those together, if you want to parlay Kucherov and Pasternak, gets +380 just for 1 goal each for both of them. Hey, if you want to take a little safer route, maybe take them each for a point, just to or a power play point. But if you want to go ahead and do that parlay, you're going to have to risk a little money. And you know what? They won't even let you parlay that. That's kind of weird. At least on my book, they won't. They might get on yours, Dave, and then maybe this book's having a little bit of an issue loading that up. But just to record a point, Kucherov is -340. Pasternak is -330. Figure that's going to translate to something like -135 at the end of the day, if you want to put both those together. All right. I don't have any lines. I don't think I have any lines for tomorrow. Do I? Yeah, I do. I got some future lines right here. Wow. Okay. So we do have the lines posted for tomorrow. Let's kind of take a look at that real quick. They're not going to give us too much as far as props and alt stuff. We're just going to get
they're just going to give us the basics.
Bare basics on this. But the Capitals are a +152 underdog at Toronto, over under 6.5. Toronto coming off the home ice lost to New Jersey. And we talked about injuries for them being a concern, and they did show their head last night in that loss to the Devils. Capitals red hot, Dave. You're getting a plus money number with them. I mean, you got to ride the hot hand, don't you?
Yeah, I think you got to feel good about getting a number like that with them at this point in the season, knowing that you have a much better chance of hitting that number than you did, say a month or two ago. But also plus 1.5 on the puck line for the Capitals is at minus 155, something that I would explore as well, Steve.
All right, the Penguins will be at home. This is a 7 o'clock Eastern game tomorrow night. The games tonight, the one in Buffalo will start at 7:10 Eastern and 7:40 for the Lightning and the Bruins. All right, so Penguins and Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets have to fly across country to play this away game. They're close to home, but far enough that they'll be in Pittsburgh and not in their beds yet. Penguins a strong favorite at home, minus 230, over under 6.5. I don't want to take any part of the Penguins at this point of the season. But, yeah, they do get the nice win against Carolina. But I'll tell you what, Columbus is in a real bad spot completely.
Yes.
So I think you can actually take Pittsburgh if you want. Maybe they want to feel good about themselves and beat up on someone for once and get away with it, as they were winning in Colorado. We mentioned that yesterday with the 4-0 lead over the weekend that they squandered and lost in overtime to the Avalanche. But they might be able to pick on the Blue Jackets a little bit at home tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm thinking the puck line. They are getting the puck.
Yeah, I think the puck line could be very live in that, even the minus 2.5 or 3.5, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you can fade Columbus from the rest of from here on out. Whoever Columbus plays, unless they're playing, say, like an Ottawa at home or something like that, you're going to have to fade them. Again, I'll have to be a little better prepared with my schedules of teams here in the future. Okay. The next game on the board, 7 o'clock, as we have a big slate on opening day for Major League Baseball. There's going to be a lot of different games on, so maybe you have a lot of TVs ready for the action tomorrow night. But Flyers and Canadians. Flyers, again, you said it, Dave, exhausting games that have gone into overtime. They'll get a little bit of rest before they take the ice in Montreal. And Montreal with a nice win there in Colorado, and coming off that West Coast road trip here. Canadians an underdog at home. The Flyers, like you said, they have some things to play for still, right in the playoff mix themselves. So minus 150 for the Flyers at Montreal. Any pick here?
Steve, this game kind of stinks. Montreal had that nice win against Colorado. Could they do it to maybe what you would say is a little bit lesser of a team in Philly? Keep me away from this one. This has what the Blackhawks did last night written all over it.
I could see this as a lower scoring game as well. Montreal hasn't even scored 200 goals on the season, just 196 total. Philadelphia has only scored 217. Both of these teams, Philadelphia is really good on defense, allowing just a 226, 245 with Montreal. So they've given up a decent amount of goals. So I would even maybe look at it under 5.5 here potentially.
Yeah, that's probably a good route.
My pesky Blackhawks are at the Ottawa Senators. We'll just have to see how Ottawa rebounds tonight. For me, no play at the moment. Ottawa will be a heavy favorite. But I'll say this, if they lose tonight and get a little bit more demoralized, I think you still might be live with this Blackhawks team a little bit here down the stretch. Some of these, the thing is, you're going to have one of these bad teams who's going to play spoiler, kind of like the Blackhawks did last year, right? Winning in Pittsburgh on the last day of the season to knock them out of the playoffs. So they're able to at least finish the season strong. Maybe a candidate for them, as bad as and rough as it's been for them, to just put up an effort still at least with this game at Ottawa tomorrow. But a no play for now, right?
Yeah, I think, there's better plays on the board.
The Islanders will have their hands full trying to stay alive tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Florida, as the Panthers will get back on the ice, try to rebound from that overtime loss to the Bruins. Minus 196, a heavy favorite for Florida. The over-under is 5.5 in that game. And if we look at the Islander splits, which we haven't done, and of course, when we talked about Florida yesterday, very stingy with 177 goals allowed on the season, scoring 234, which is about average. But the Islanders, they lack some offense, 212 goals scored on the year. They're about average at giving up goals at 239, but relatively an under team, 3-6-1 in their last 10. I would expect Florida to rebound at home, and this could be actually an under game as well.
Yeah, Steve. I was thinking the same thing. I like Florida on the 60-minute line here.
All right. Detroit will try to come off that disappointing loss in Washington at Carolina at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night. Carolina, a heavy favorite at minus 245, over under 6.5. Detroit will be playing for their playoff lives. Carolina still trying to maintain that. They want to get the top spot there as they lose ground last night there in the Atlantic. But the Hurricanes at home, a very good home team, are Carolina, minus 245 for them, over under 6.5. I would think that Carolina can rebound at home, but like you said, Dave, I mean, you're going to get some really strong efforts from some of these teams who have their backs against the wall. And Detroit showed that last night in Washington. They just aren't going to go away. So a close game, probably a physical game as well. Carolina likes to play these physical games. They've only given up 199 goals on the season, so they play some lower scoring games as well at times. I would just expect that, Dave. I would expect Detroit to let it all hang out tomorrow in Raleigh.
How about some overtime, Steve? Can we get a little
Yeah,
overtime action?
there we go. That could be our first overtime pick there that we should discuss.
Plus 340.
Yeah, you know what? This game actually has a few more of the props on board of goal scorers and stuff than the other games I've seen. I see a plus 370 over here, Dave. I could see this as an overtime game for sure.
Absolutely.
2-2, get into overtime. What I don't see is there is a correct score on this, 60-minute correct score. What does 2-2 pay? Or 3-3 even. Let's see.
Or a 3-2 Carolina.
Yeah. Let's see here. 2-2 is 13-1. 3-3 is 14-1. And if you want Carolina to win this game, 3-2, 21-1, Dave. That's not a bad call at all.
No, not at all.
To be honest. Interesting. All right. Good game tomorrow night. Vegas, they've been playing a little bit better. Obviously, the tough loss for them last night in Nashville, but they're still able to get a point. So they got to still feel good about that at the end of the day, gaining a little bit of ground on St. Louis. And I told you, Dave, beware of Winnipeg falling into the penalty box here.
You did, absolutely.
137, a favorite at home, will be the Jets over tonight. So their dominance is not showing as far as their record dominance in the standings isn't really showing in terms of the money line here. Vegas getting a little bit of a respect. Again, Dave, overtime here. What about that?
Absolutely, son. That's definitely we're going to make a play on this tomorrow, Steve. We're going to get our heads together a little bit, but throw that one in there.
Yeah, we're going to have to round
put an asterisk next to that.
We're going to have to round robin 5 overtimes to see if we can hit 3 for a payout. And I think the Vegas Knights and Jets could do that. Good game. I wouldn't be surprised if either one would win this either. So I would be careful here when picking any kind of alternate line. I would try to stay away from that. I could see, you're going to get an empty netter at best to win by 2 either way. Don't go crazy either other way, I would say. Anyway. All right, next game on the list. San Jose takes the road to Minnesota. So the Wild minus 345, over under 6.5. We talked about just how bad and atrocious San Jose has been, and now they'll go out on the road where they're just 6-26-4 on the season. They've only won 6 road games the entire season, Dave. How about that? Minnesota, is right there still. They do have a very minor lifeline. This is going to be a must win for them. They're 9 points out of the playoffs, and they're going to need Vegas really just to screw it up more than anything. They're not going to catch Nashville. So Vegas is public enemy number one. In fact, if Vegas can win tomorrow night, that's going to be huge and basically eliminating Minnesota. I'd have to do the math on that, but we're not too far away from that happening. Yeah, I guess we have enough games left. But yeah, they're almost out of it against Nashville. I'll say that 13 points back in Nashville in the 7th spot. So really, Vegas is going to be the one public enemy number one for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, they're a decent team at home. That's what they are. They have lost 2 in a row, 6-1-3 though in their last 10, 18-12-5 at home. So they are a little bit better. Well, that's just barely over 500 if you count it as far as wins, losses with the overtime included. Disappointing year for Minnesota overall, Dave, right? I would say.
Yeah, very.
You would think they'd be able to hold serve at home with San Jose just being bad. But again, I'm not going to risk minus 345 here.
No, absolutely not, Steve. I thought we thought that we were going to get a little bit more out of Minnesota this year. Never really got it. They're set up with a game that they should win. Is it a little late at this point? I think that maybe it is. But here's a situation where a team like San Jose just comes in with nothing to lose. And you take a big number like minus 355 like I have. And that gets squandered, and then you get real frustrated. So I think there's better plays here. Yes, Minnesota should win, but I'm not comfortable with either of them, really.
The Blues will be at home at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time against Calgary. They are minus 137. The over-under is at 6.5 for the Blues. Obviously, Calgary falls to Chicago last night. That we should have been throwing them in the penalty box, to be honest. They're a good candidate for that. So that being said, I think this is a short number for St. Louis, who has to have it. So I would go ahead and lean with the Blues here, minus 137.
I would as well, Steve. I may even move on with the 60-minute line, but like you said, the have to have it factor is what would make me want to play St. Louis over Calgary.
In fact, if Calgary does lose this game, that could be lights out because they would have to basically win out and have the wild card seeds above them lose out to have any chance of making the playoffs. So they could be officially going to Cancun after the game in St. Louis tomorrow night. So, yeah, I think that's one of the better plays on the board from what I've seen so far is with St. Louis here. Just knowing that Calgary is basically coming off a demoralizing loss to Chicago. And, I would just expect the honest effort at home from St. Louis more than anything.
Absolutely.
And honestly,
agree more.
If St. Louis can't win this game, then they don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
100%, Steve. I was just getting ready to say, if they can't win this must-have game at home against a struggling Calgary team, then they didn't deserve it in the first place.
Okay, we're on overtime alert right here. Maybe that's what we should have, an overtime alert, a little sound like siren or something going off. I'll have to put that in the program sounders. But overtime alert here with the Rangers at Colorado, Dave. Plus 128
Absolutely.
for the Rangers. Colorado minus 154, over under 6.5. I'm saying that because Colorado has definitely been playing some sketchy hockey a little bit here lately. Letting Pittsburgh get up to 4 goals before winning in overtime, losing to Montreal last night. Now they got the Rangers coming in who, let Philly go off on Shesterkin there somehow. But we're going to get a playoff type of feel for this one. That being said, I mean, this has every bit of a chance to go to overtime, I would say.
Steve, when I saw this one on the list, I was going to go ahead and tell you to throw it in our round robin there because I like that for the OT round robin.
The next game at 9 o'clock has a chance as well with the Kings and the Oilers, I would say. You would want to give Edmonton, a little bit of home ice advantage, but again, they went in overtime at Winnipeg last night. The Kings are on fire as well. They've been a strong hockey team here. Streaky. I don't know if there's been any team streakier than the Kings as far as, man, these guys are good, and they're not so good, maybe. Oh, man, these guys are really good. Oh, no, they're not so good, maybe. Oh, wow, these guys are good again, right? So that's going to be a big thing come playoff time. What kind of the Kings team will show up? But overall, at the end of the day, still having a solid season. This could be a potentially a good overtime game as well.
Yeah, Steve, I think it has the chance. And, a game like this might tell us what we're going to get out of them. So, this might be good to kind of judge what we got going on with them there.
Plus 350 for each of the last 2 games with the Rangers in Colorado and Edmonton and the Kings both to go into overtime. Again, we said this yesterday. This potentially could be a first-round playoff matchup if things go the right way here, especially if Winnipeg can just kind of fall apart a little bit more. And that's what's happening here. See, the Kings, four wins in a row for them, 7-3 in their last 10. And then Edmonton at home, 23-8-3 overall. But the Kings really strong on the road, 21-11-4. That's what's to look out in that one. Close game, good game. Try to tune it in if you are able to tomorrow night. Okay, next game on the list. We have Nashville and Arizona. Interesting game here, Dave. Can your Coyotes?
It is.
Can your Coyotes break the win streak for Nashville?
It's possible, Steve, but I think you just have to. You have to go with Nashville until they lose that game and they're not getting points. Right. You just kind of have to. So I would even go with the -1.5 here at plus 150.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So Nashville playing strong hockey. This at the end of the day is an opponent that they should beat. They have been dominant. The Predators, even though they're, if they could have just put together another month or two here at the beginning of the season, I mean, they'd be right in it to win this whole conference, to be honest. But they're playing their best hockey at the right time. But I'll throw the number out at you, Dave, plus 350 to go to overtime.
Oh, that might be something to consider.
All right, this next game has overtime potentially all over it as well with Dallas and Vancouver. Dallas just -114. The Canucks -105, so that's a coin flip in terms of Vegas talk. Over under 6.5 for this, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Who do you like in this one?
I tell you what, Steve, I think for me, I like the Stars. This is a tough one. This could be in our overtime candidate here as well.
You got to think the Stars are. I mean, they're obviously highly motivated, but again, flex your muscles type of game here. Vancouver is kind of the newer kid on the block in terms of a team that's going to be in the playoffs. Let's just go ahead and show them now that if they run into us in a 7-game series, that it could be a short one. If we go
and that's what I was thinking, Steve. I was going off of what you said earlier. Vancouver maybe not being as tested at this time of the year than some of these teams that have been, in it for consecutive and previous years, like the Dallas Stars. Just a team that, knows how to get it done at this point in the season. So I think that's where my comfort level would sit there with Dallas.
All right, let's see here. And one final game, Anaheim and Seattle. In fact, we just saw that game. Seattle able to handle business at home fairly easily, Dave.
Yeah, it's going to be a no play here, but you got to think Seattle would probably be able to take care of business at home.
All right. So I want to look at a little bit of the scheduling. Now I'm going to have to pull it up. But here's one I want to avoid. Okay, yeah. Of course, all the games coming up are at the bottom. So I'm going to just do a couple random teams at you, Dave. Tough sledding here for Boston. At Tampa, at Washington, at Nashville, at Carolina. So long road trip for them. Of course, they have the March Madness in the TDI Garden this whole weekend, so that throws them on the road for that. Then they'll return home against Florida, Carolina, at Pittsburgh, another game at Washington, and then versus Ottawa. So interesting for the Bruins down the stretch with that schedule.
Say again, Steve?
I would just say an interesting schedule for the Bruins. It's not the easiest down the stretch.
Oh, no, not at all. It's definitely not getting any easier for Boston. That's for sure. So we'll see what that does come, in the next few games, what that does to the standings.
All right, let's take a look at Detroit's schedule. At Carolina, at Florida, at Tampa. So right there, a little southeast tough road trip. And then they'll be home against the Rangers, Buffalo, Washington, at Pittsburgh, at Toronto, versus Montreal, at Montreal. So Detroit with some winnable games in there for sure. That's going to keep them relevant. They'll get the Capitals one more time. That's going to be important for them. And they'll have Tampa as well. So those two games will loom large for Detroit. But this is the road trip that's going to really probably determine things, you would think. At Carolina, at Florida, at Tampa. They just got 1 point at Washington. If they're going to stay relevant in this playoff race, then they're going to need to win 2 of these 3 at least against tough opponents.
At least, Steve. It's coming to that point where you're absolutely right. That's tough, and they've got to have everything they can have. So interesting stretch for them as well.
All right, let's look at our Capitals. At Toronto, versus Boston, at Buffalo, versus Pittsburgh, at Carolina, versus Ottawa, at Detroit, at Buffalo, versus Tampa, versus Boston, at Philadelphia. So they have their rival in Pittsburgh in there, but they'll get them at home. They have Buffalo a couple of times. We'll see how relevant Buffalo still is come that April 11th game. They still have Tampa Bay, but they get them at home. Let's see, 2 games with Boston will be tough, and, of course, the road game with Toronto tomorrow night. So what do you think of the Caps' schedule down the stretch?
Not easy for them either. I think it's, at this point, either the second or third toughest remaining schedule. So, they've, again, a lot of these teams coming down the stretch here, they have work to do, but they control their destiny as long as they can continue with the recipe that they have found, then I think that they can make it, but they just they have to take care of business, Steve. That's number one, and they've got to keep getting points.
Okay, the Nashville schedule. Let's take a look at this. At Arizona, at Colorado, versus Boston, versus St. Louis. They'll have a back-to-back at the Islanders and at New Jersey. A third game in 4 nights when they'll play home against Winnipeg. They'll be at Chicago, home against Columbus, at Pittsburgh. So some winnable games in there, actually, for Nashville. They do have a few tough opponents, but generally they should be favorites for the most part in most of these games. So we could really see them closing out strong still.
Yeah, they look to be in a really good position. It'll be curious to see who they draw come playoff time.
All right. Let's take a look at the St. Louis schedule real quick. And then we'll take a look at our penalty box teams because Winnipeg's one I wanted to look at anyway. We'll look at your Pittsburgh in the penalty box, and then we'll see if we can throw another couple of candidates in there as well. Let's see here. Okay, so the schedule for St. Louis, and you have to go all the way down to the bottom to get all these games. Oh, please, come on, man! It popped up chair yoga, Dave. I don't know what chair yoga is, but I think you should be doing more than sitting in a chair when you're doing yoga. Okay, they get Calgary at home. They get San Jose at home. They get Edmonton at home. Then at Nashville, at San Jose, at Anaheim, versus Chicago, versus Carolina, versus Seattle, at Dallas. I see a few tough opponents, but you still have San Jose twice. You have Chicago still. You have Anaheim still. You have Seattle still. You have the Calgary game tonight or tomorrow night. So the Blues really with a nice schedule they hear down the stretch.
Yeah, a little favorable for them. So let's see if they can take advantage of it. This is what good teams who deserve to be in the playoffs do. So we're going to find out what they're made of, and if they think that they deserve to be there.
All right, let's see if my Jets are really capable of being in the penalty box. Maybe not quite all the way, but they got Vegas at home, then they got Ottawa at home. They'll have the Kings at home, so that's a tough game. They'll be at home against Calgary, so they have a lot of home games coming up. At Minnesota, which is going to be winnable for them. At Nashville, tough game. At Dallas, tough game. At Colorado, tough game. Versus Seattle, versus Vancouver. You got to figure that as long as they can tread water in these next few games, then that 3-game stretch at Nashville, at Dallas, at Colorado is going to really determine if they're going to really fall out or not. But I think if they tread water, they should be fine. And when I say that, maybe go 3-2 over the stretch of these next couple of games. And, those are winnable games at home with Ottawa and Calgary. So really just if they can beat Vegas or Los Angeles or win at Minnesota, then that's going to do the Jets good. So I'm willing to take them out of the penalty box for now.
Yeah, Steve, I think they're going to be okay. They just need to catch a little fire and go into the playoffs playing the right way is all.
All right, Pittsburgh. Let's see if they're still capable of being in your penalty box. We have a game versus Columbus and then at Columbus. Wow, so they could do the double whammy on Columbus here coming up. At the Rangers, at New Jersey, at Washington, versus Tampa Bay, at Toronto, versus Detroit, versus Boston, versus Nashville, versus the Islanders. Dave, I think we can throw them in the penalty box, but we have to do that after the March 30th game at Columbus because they're not going to have many wins in that stretch towards the end there, I don't think.
No. And I'll tell you what, Steve, I don't care how good they are. They'll always be in my penalty box.
All right, we'll go ahead and cue up our referees. I'll blindly let you pick someone you think might be
You're trying to switch 7 guys. Mike, come on.
heading south here, and we'll look at their schedule. All right, who do you got tonight?
For tonight?
Yeah. Or who do you have? Who might be your new candidate to hit the penalty box here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with what you said earlier, Steve, actually. I think I'm going to go with the Flames. We'll find out after this game with the Blues, but, if they don't win that one, then they can probably just stay there.
Okay, so let's look at Calgary. Calgary is at St. Louis versus Los Angeles versus Anaheim, at Winnipeg versus Edmonton, at San Jose, at Los Angeles, another game at Anaheim versus Arizona, at Vancouver versus San Jose. Now, they have San Jose and Anaheim in there. If you take those two teams out, which account for 4 of those games in the stretch of what they have 11 left here, that leaves 7 other games in which, yes, they could definitely lose all of those where they should be underdogs for sure. Even the game against Arizona may be tricky for them as well. So I think they're capable of staying in there, Dave. Just beware when they're playing San Jose and Anaheim, but I think that goes without saying anyway. I'm going to go for Columbus here. An oldie but a goodie. I'm not going to try to surprise you with anyone, although I'll give you another one in a second with the Islanders. We'll take a look at their schedule because they could be in there as well, especially if they have a rough go of it here over the weekend. But Columbus, they have the 2 games with Pittsburgh we mentioned. Then they're home against Colorado, home against the Islanders, home against Philadelphia, at Carolina, at Tampa, at Florida, at Nashville versus Carolina. Dave, honestly, they might not win a game the rest of the season.
No, they might not, Steve. That's going to be tough sledding for them.
All right, so they're very penalty box worthy for us. And then I'll mention the Islanders. Let's just take a look at their schedule. Then we'll do a goal scorer on the short 2-game slate tonight. The Islanders are at Florida, at Tampa, at Philly, versus Chicago, at Columbus, versus Nashville, versus the Rangers, versus Montreal, at the Rangers, at Jersey, versus Pittsburgh. They'll get 1 or 2 or 3 wins in there stretch, Dave, but I see more losses than wins coming up for the New York Islanders.
Yeah, there's a couple losses on the horizon.
They're bound to
for them,
get
it
upset
looks
too
like.
by someone like a Chicago or something, or Montreal.
Right.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and get a goal scorer for tonight queued up as I go ahead and hit our horn. All right, Dave, I said it earlier. Just give me Pasternak and give me Kucherov. And parlay those two guys together, you'll get close to 4-1. What do you got?
I think I'm going to take Braden Point from the Lightning, Steve.
Braden Point, what do you have on it? Now, he was on the injured list the other night, but off it today. I see him listed as well. I see a plus 165. What do you have?
So let's see here. I have plus 170.
All right, so there you go. A little bit better number by you. All right, Dave, good stuff tonight. We will reconvene for What the Puck is going on next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, and tomorrow morning, if you're up and at 'em, tune us in. We'll get you a full hour. I went ahead and interviewed Dave Del Grande today, so we'll have him back on the show. We'll get into the Ohtani mess. We'll talk some NBA. We'll talk about some MLB teams. What surprises do we have potentially in store for teams that were bad, who could be good, or good teams that could be bad, and maybe a little NFL as well with Dave. We'll catch up with him. All right, Dave. Dave Metzger, nephew Dave, good job. We will talk to you. I'll talk to you off the air. Maybe we'll slide you on with some baseball picks as well tomorrow. Cool?
All right.
All right. This is What the Puck is going on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. Good luck.